What shall we talk about?
I'll bring up something for the sake of breaking the ice.
Don't break the ice.
Okay. Just,
What shall we talk?
psychoanalysts often talk about the censor and about resistance, and I'm interested in hearing more of the discussion of the nature of the censor and resistance. Maybe they're the same.
The censor and resistance.
Yes.
Shall we talk about that? I suppose anything would do except. Perhaps we could talk about that. Go ahead, enlarge and come into that. If we talked about a little bit about attention. Shall we? Would that be worthwhile talk about the inattention and attention? Because it seems to me we pass most of our lives in inattention, except in moments or events or crises where we have got to pay attention, where we have to give our mind and heart and everything we have to solve that issue. But most of the time we spend our life, don't we, rather drifting along, though we are very occupied. And the very occupation becomes a form of inattention, because there isn't much to do there. You keep rolling. Would that be of any consequential interest? How does this happen? That we waste our life so inordinately drifting along and totally, we won't use the word totally, with a great deal of inattention in our lives. I was told of an article recently written in one of the weekly magazines where the Zen Buddhist monks, Zen monks, were able to so completely be attentive that their reactions were very slow, because they had trained themselves with great deal of attention and interest, and so that any reaction which an ordinary human being would have was very slow. I don't know if you. Ordinary physical reactions, psychological reactions, I mean, psychosomatic reactions.
You mean it was thought out kind of slowly and
No,
progressed,
it
or
was just observed without any response. See, I'm trying to.
I think we would generally think that that was inattentive because we usually respond very fast or react fast.
I wonder how we can approach this. If it interests you at all.
what is attention?
What?
What is attention?
Do you think attention has a very limited meaning? Like concentration has a very limited meaning, hasn't it? Do you think, I don't know how far you have gone into it, that's why I daren't. Shall we plunge into it and go on? I don't know if you really want to, if you're interested in this, because you see, I think in understanding attention, we shall be able to observe ourselves much more clearly, without any resistance, without the censor. Because understanding oneself is of primary importance, obviously. Oneself who is a living entity, and therefore the observation must also be very attentive in that living sense, in which, as we said, there is no censor or resistance. So, in understanding myself or yourself or a human being, one must have this quality of attention. That is, in watching oneself, if you have done it at all, there's a process of learning which is not accumulation. The accumulation then becomes the censor and a means of resistance. I don't know if...
The intention would be an openness, an awareness.
No, we're going to find out. We're going to explore it together. I want to watch myself. I want to learn about myself, not according to Freud, Jung, or some other specialist or not specialist. I want to learn about myself. The first thing I have to learn is to unlearn the meaning of that word to learn. learning implies generally accumulation of knowledge from which to act, to think, to function. Technological field, in the science and so on, engineering and so on. Now here, we are dealing with a very living thing. The self, which is to be understood, is a living, moving, vital thing, moving all the time, changing, and I have to learn about it. Now if I learn about it, to learn about it, the mind, the observer, must come fresh to it. If he comes burdened, he's already translating what he sees according to his previous knowledge. I don't know if this is. So he's always translating what he sees in terms of the past. The past then becomes the censor, and therefore censor says, I'll resist this and accept this. Right, sir? So, the problem then is how to observe without accumulation. Learning through observation without the process of accumulation taking place. So learning is a movement, not from a movement, from a route. I don't know where.
It's not just accumulation, though, it's also exclusion as well, wouldn't it?
What?
Wouldn't it be not only accumulation but exclusion? If you see
Accumulation, of course, resistance means exclusion. The moment I resist, I exclude, naturally. So the question is, how to observe, to learn, and not to accumulate. It's quite a different, it's quite, if you go into it, it becomes quite subtle, quite extraordinarily interesting. To know oneself without the pressure of the past interfering with what is being learned. Now, how is this? How does this happen? Analysis implies the analyzer, the sensor, right? A fragment separating itself from other fragments and assuming authority to analyze. But that fragment is interrelated with the rest of the fragments, which go to make up the human entity. So, to observe without analysis, I don't know if you follow me, which means not to come to a conclusion ever, never to say to oneself, I know myself. I don't know. So that's the problem. So So the specialists have said, the people like the Zen and other people said, cultivate attention, awareness. Cultivate awareness so that there is no interference of the past. They don't put it that way. I'm translating it that way. I don't know if it interests you all this, does it? You got a bad eye, I've got a bad tooth. So make up. So that is really one of the major issues of attention. To attend without the observer, the sensor, the entity that resists, that is capable of focusing and therefore concentrating, I don't know if and therefore excluding. I don't know, huh? All right, let's go. I see the importance, I'm using the word I, as just a means of communication. So there is the importance of learning the whole structure and the nature of oneself. The oneself is the rest of the humanity. That's obvious, so we don't have to beat that to death. Oneself is the whole social, environmental, cultural result. And to bring about a social or environmental or cultural change, revolution, one has to begin the change, the revolution in oneself, obviously. Because one is the rest of humanity. It is not oneself first and humanity next. It is a total movement of the human being. Right? To change implies learning about oneself. And to learn, there must be freedom, a curiosity, and an intensity. That's obvious. Now, learning implies the non-interference of the censor. The censor, who is the past, the accumulated knowledge, both the personal and impersonal and all the rest of it. Now, is it possible? Can one learn without accumulating? Right? Can we start with that? Now, how do you proceed? Go on, sir. I want to learn about myself. Can I observe myself without the word? Because the word invariably condemns or justifies.
Also, words are the result of culture. There's something that culture has built up.
Look at the difficulty you're going to have to observe without the word. Try it. Do it. You'll see how extremely difficult it is. Jealousy, to observe the feeling without introducing the word jealousy. Because that word has many connotations, condemnatory generally. So to observe that feeling and learn all about it without the word.
So one thing I notice when I do that is that a censor comes into it. A censor tries to, as the words come up, the censor tries to push the words away.
No, that's, if you push away, you're resisting.
I know, that's...
And no, see what is implied in it.
Sir, when you ask that question, are you speaking in terms of the physical reaction that you may feel when...
Physical, psychological, the whole of it, not just physical response. Because the physical response is related to psyche and so on, interrelated responses. To observe without naming it. Which implies condemnation or justification or various forms of suppression. Right? Can the mind observe, learn, watch, listen, without naming, without any form of resistance?
Is any descriptive term also?
Obviously, because the description is not the described.
But why does the description prevent you from seeing?
Then the word becomes, the word then takes, colors the observation. Because the word says jealousy or anger or whatever it is, and the word has already condemned it.
But if it's something, say, painful, you will experience the sense of pain before you name it. That is an immediate thing, is it not? It isn't that the words
No,
conditions the pain.
if one has a physical pain, look,
No, I mean the psychological.
psychological pain, watch it, it's very interesting. Why do you have psychological pain? It's a form of resistance. No? The censor doesn't like it. The censor, who is the accumulated knowledge, doesn't want that particular kind of response or reaction or experience or incident, event and so on. So he shrinks from it, he doesn't like it, it's painful to him. Can one, that just, I mean, observation without the censor implies all that.
But does the pain develop because of the censor, or is the censor there? Is the pain something separate from the censor?
No. No, how can it be different from the sense? If there was no censor in the psychological sense, would there be pain?
Doesn't an animal feel?
Don't bring in the animal. We are human beings. Let's stick to this. It's difficult enough as it is, going to the animal.
Sir, why do we have this need to name these various things that go on inside us? Is that a form of resistance?
No, it's part of our culture, part of our resistance, part of our saying I'm learning about it.
But it also has to do with an insecurity. If you see something and you can't name it, it's something new,
That's right.
different.
That's right.
Yeah, a way of negative control.
Right.
So talking about a psychological pain that develops, if you don't name it as jealousy or hatred, but you sense some feeling of pain, your reaction to something. The censor is doing that. Now, my question is a strange one. You say when there is no censor, there is no pain.
Is there?
But you have to begin somewhere, don't you?
I begin observing the censor. The censor is observing himself and seeing how he produces pain.
But who is observing the censor?
Wait. That's the point. Who is observing? The observer. Right? The watcher is to be watched. Who is observing the observer? Which is, if the observer is not, is there an observer at all? No, this becomes too complex. Let's go slowly, because this is quite difficult to go into it. As we said, I want to learn about myself, observe myself. In the observation, I discover there is the censor. The censor, who is the result of the past, is the past. Like, dislike, various forms of experiences, memories, fear, is the past. He is that. As we said, he separates himself from the rest of the desires, fragments, hopes, fears, and says, I'm going to change, I'm going to control, I'm going to sense, but he's still part of the fragment. Now, can there be observation without the sense of the parts? Because if there is the censor, there's always a conflict going on, a contradiction. And therefore, this battle, the inward struggle, the battle, so I see this one sees this very clearly, either intellectually or verbally, and now to find out the reality of it is quite a different thing, right? I want to find out if I can observe without the censor. To observe you who have flattered, insulted, hurt, stolen, do whatever it is, without any interference of the past. There will be reaction, naturally. But not the memory involved in that reaction. I don't know if I'm... You've hurt me. When I see you next time, to observe you without the hurt. I don't know if I'm without the memory of the hurt. Because if I have the memory of the hurt, there's a resistance against you and a fight, both outwardly and inwardly. That's one point. Suppose you steal my purse, my bonds, whatever it is, if one has it, thank God I haven't got any. So, then what? How do I meet you? Or, if you're my wife or my husband, And we have lived for so long together. The image of you and the image of me is so very deeply rooted. Can I look at her or him? Can the mind, can there be observation of him, of her, without the image? So, the observation of her or him is total attention, isn't it? I don't know if to attend without naming, without identifying thought with the image, without the censor. See, it's all this needs a tremendous inward discipline. Discipline in the sense of learning. The very act of learning is its own discipline.
So is it possible to observe without a censor, so long as one has a motive for observing, or a motive for understanding?
Of course, obviously not.
So long as one has a reason for finding something out, he will always observe with an image.
Of course. No, wait a minute. I want to learn about myself. Is there a reason behind that want? There can be reason, because I want to escape from misery, from conflict, from various forms of travail and so on. That can be the motive for learning about myself. And in observing, I discover the motive and put it aside. I say that's not learning. So all these things are involved in learning, in being attentive when there is observation. Now, most of us are inattentive, right? How is that inattention to end and attention take place? Is that the question? Is that the right question? How does it happen that the mind can be totally attentive in the sense we are talking about, when most of our life is spent in inattention? How is this to change?
earlier, the Zen Buddhists who practice some sort of attention to their own way. They have their own way of doing it. Now that is not the attention we're talking about, obviously.
I don't know the meaning of their word attention, because it's so look, sir, I don't know if you've gone to the question of meditation at all, any of you. There, I mean, the whole Asiatic concept of meditation is control. Control of the body and the bodily responses, and thought, and not to allow thought to wander at all, but completely focused, concentrated. And so bring about a tranquility of the mind in which alone can that supreme something can be understood or revealed or lived. I'm putting it very crudely, but that's generally the idea. And one sees the tremendous danger of this. I don't know if you're interested in all this. Because I met a man we met a man once. He had given up a very good position as some kind of bureaucratic position high up. Because one morning he woke up and said, I passed judgment on others, and I want to know what the meaning of truth is. Because I'm passing judgment all day long. This should be done, that should be done. You should go to prison, all the rest of it. So he said, I want to find out the truth of it. What is truth? So he disappeared. It's easy in India because you can put on a robe of the monk and wander from village to village, and they will feed you and clothe you and respectful to you. That's the tradition. The man who leaves the world seeking truth is to be maintained by society. And there are crooks who do that too. That's understood. So, for 25 years, he was meditating. 25 years, he was an oldish man. And they brought him. And he said, I was listening to your talk the other day about meditation, and I see what I have done. I've really hypnotized myself. I have projected my own desires, feelings, the knowledge of what truth is, and so on, and lived in a vision of one's own creation. For an old man to admit that much was tremendous. Which means the observer is meditating. I don't know if the observer is controlling the rest of the fragments. So, to observe without control. I don't know if you ever done all these things. Great fun. Because control means resistance. One fragment opposing another fragment.
Am I right in thinking that to observe without control would be to observe without words?
Oh, obviously, all that's implied.
And if that's the case, then is it the case too that while we can lead up evocatively, perhaps, in this sort of conversation, to someone's achieving that it cannot be depicted, described, words can't capture it?
No, sir. You see, the word achievement already denies the whole thing. Because there's already a motive behind it. To arrive somewhere. You see how it requires a great deal of observation of all this. So come back, let's go back. Is there observation without any control? Control being the censor, resistance, suppression, or saying, well, I have no control, I'm just doing what. That's too silly either. So, is it possible to observe, not possible, to observe without any of this?
Wanting to gain something, isn't that interfering with attention? Wanting to gain something, doesn't that prevent the...
Of course, of course, of course. After all, if one sees what is happening in the world and in oneself, this fantastic violence, aggression, with all the things applied in it. And playing with non-violence is just idiocy, the ideology of it and all that. To see the implications of violence and being totally free of it. Not as an achievement, but the understanding of the whole nature of violence.
Is this observation, when it takes place, something which, say, one can be doing all one's waking hours? Or is it something that takes place occasionally?
So, I mean, as we are listening and discussing here, is it possible to observe? Are you observing in that sense, which we have talked about just now? Observing, which includes listening, and learning. Observing, means observing, seeing, listening, learning, all a movement. And you're asking, does this happen? Can this happen all during the day? Or does it happen only or partially during the period of sleep?
Oh, I didn't mean to ask about sleep.
I see.
I meant rather is it something that can happen only occasionally, or can one live?
If it wants to, it must happen all the time, otherwise no point. From that, another question arises, which is, the sensor is very deeply rooted, right? Deep down in one's being, he's rooted. One can observe superficially, consciously, without the observer. That's comparatively easy if one has gone into it, watches it, that's comparatively easy. But there is this deep-rooted sensor in the very recesses, in the dungeons of one's being, in the caves of one's heart, and so on. How does it happen to bring all that out? I don't know if it interests you, all this.
Are you asking if it's possible to end the past once and for all?
No, not quite. That is a question, but that's not relevant, if you don't mind, at the moment. Here is a problem which I think must strike everybody. One can be superficially observant, right? I can observe your red shirt, your silver, whatever it is, dress, and so on, so on, so on, and learn the trick of not condemning. It's a trick. But at the deeper layers, deep down, the sensory is in operation, of which one may not be conscious at all. And that sensor generally takes charge at the moment of inattention. I don't know if you follow all this. And the moment of inattention is sleep. Am I saying anything scandalous? Because then this sensor projects dreams, all the rest of it takes place. What do the analysts?
One can, with this term, can we say that one can be asleep with your eyes open?
Wait, sir, no, don't go off at a result yet. You'll find out. See what is it. I'm inquiring. We are inquiring. One can be attentive off and on during the day, watching. Train oneself like an animal to watch. I've seen that with a great many people who have listened to all this and say, I'm going to train myself to be very attentive and pay tremendous attention during the daytime. Now, when they go to sleep, inattention takes charge because the attention is so artificial during the day. I don't know if you're... And so sleep becomes a period of inattention. Do you accept all this?
Isn't the waking state also?
Waking state also is inattention, but I'm just passing that over.
Well, I couldn't say one way or another when I'm asleep.
So how, the question says, to expose the sensor completely, you follow? The sensor that's hidden. The sensor that is the past. I don't know if you...
Will that affect the sleeping state?
You will go into it, so we'll find out. Don't ask me questions, because we and I are exploring. So what is the function of sleep? I don't know if you... Is it a period of inattention, if I may use that word without spoiling your sleep? Or is it a period which is really attention? I don't know if you're...
If there's a sensor, then it's inattention.
You're saying that attention must be as deeply rooted as the sensor in order to function?
No, in order to, not in order, that implies a motive. To live without any form of control, without any resistance, which means without violence, the sensor must come to an end. And we are asking the sensor is so deeply hidden as he is, how does it happen to expose the whole of that? What do you say? I don't know.
You'd have to definitely extend the bounds of your awareness.
What's that?
You'd have to extend the bounds of your awareness.
No, wait. No, look
because
what
right
you're...
now I'm only aware of, even when I, at any one time of such a small portion of the...
I know, therefore, how does it happen to extend this attention, not only horizontally, but vertically?
True, I implied that.
Yeah, vertically as well as horizontally.
What's the difference between vertical and horizontal?
Huh?
What's the difference between vertical and horizontal?
Going down.
Oh no, I know, but I mean...
Not only the scope of what you see this way.
I mean, after all science is horizontal knowledge. Right?
Accumulation, is that horizontal?
I mean, but the vertical inquiry, not only up but down. How? You understand my question? Huh? Yes? Yes, sir? One observes there is superficial consciousness with all its resistance and censorship in action, and one can, and in that observation one learns a great deal superficially. But deep down, can that observation enter into the hidden recesses.
I personally feel that that is possible. But one of my ways of doing that, strangely enough, happens when I do dream. And I have an awareness while I am dreaming about the fact that I am dreaming. And when I am finished with my dream, I look at it like a puzzle and I put the whole thing together. And very often I find some secret key to myself that's troubling me, that comes out in the dream, and it's over. It's
So you
finished
are,
then. I have discovered something.
yeah. So you are saying, aren't you, if I may interpret what, if I understand rightly, dreams help one to pull out the censor,
Yeah.
to expose the censor. Right?
Yes.
Why do you dream at all? And then
Perhaps because I am not living in my everyday life as I...
therefore, as you're not living everyday life, not you personally, I'm not talking personally, as one doesn't live with attention during the daytime, night, asleep, in sleep, dreams become a necessity. Right? I questioned I said, why should I dream at all? Not, I must dream in order to expose my... You follow?
Yes, yes.
And finding a key to understanding through dreams. And therefore, keeping the mind, see the importance, keeping the brain cells and the mind tremendously active all the time. During the daytime, night, you follow the whole machinery operating all the time. So one is asking whether dreams are at all necessary, and is there a way, I don't mean a method, how does it happen to expose the hidden? We have ruled out analysis. I'm sorry, there are any analysts here, so forgive me. We ruled out the analysis. The analysis, because we went into that substance, we don't have to go into. We said analysis implies time and analyzer. They analyze one fragment, assuming the authority of the analyzer, and so on. So that's out. As far as that's out. It has no meaning to me, personally. Then, how is all this to be exposed? I don't know if you are interested in this. Personally, I am tremendously, because if the sensor is in operation at the deeper layers of one's consciousness, and the mind is only polishing up on the surface, there's no meaning. It has a superficial meaning, but it's totally irrelevant. So how does it happen? The deep layers, all their contents are exposed without analysis, without searching. Searching implies a seeker. See all the difficulties in it. Who, when he is seeking, must recognize. Right? And therefore, recognition means he is observing through the past and therefore saying this is right, or this is good, this is, I'll keep this, I won't keep. I don't know if you're following on. How do you answer this? No?
When one observes, it doesn't seem that there is the censor then. When one is observing, there isn't the person watching the observer.
No, you understood, madam, our question. In the cellar, great many things are hidden. And I have superficially polished the top floors. In the cellar, there are all these things. How do I get at that? To expose, to clean up the whole house.
Doesn't the observing do this?
Observer?
No, doesn't the observing, doesn't the person...
The act, you're saying, does the act of observation
Yes.
in itself reveals all this?
Yes.
Now, is this from your actual experience or are you just guessing? Please be careful. No,
Just doing it now.
Because you see, we can invent a lot of theories, suppositions, guesses, and that's no good. You are saying, are you, that the observer, being the observed and therefore no censor, such observation is the factor of revealing the whole content of the cellar. Is that what you're saying?
I'm asking.
But that seems to me to be the wrong question, because the fact is that we don't observe.
No, she was like I'm observing right now. I don't know if I'm exposing the whole cellar, but all I can tell is when things come up, I can see them happen. I can see resistances happen.
You understand, sir, the meaning of this question?
I believe.
Which is, I'm sure, I'm not doubting you, which is, if there is no analysis, or rather, if when we have understand the futility of it, or see the truth of it, And therefore, the time element has gone out of it, in the sense, taking time between the top floor and the bottom floor. You follow? There's no time at all. Because when we understand the process of analysis, you also understand the process of time. Therefore, you eliminate time. I don't know if you do. Therefore, we are asking, the observation must be freed from time. Right? It isn't that I am awake during the day, partially awake during the day, and sleep reveals through dreams the contents of the unconscious, doesn't matter, the unconscious. Therefore, both are necessary. You follow? All that involves time. I have no time. To me, time is a horror. Logically, because that implies, time implies an interval between this and that. In that interval, great many other incidents and stresses and strains and events happen, which change the course.
It also implies the search.
Which change the course. So time is really a most distracting affair. So when one realizes that, when the realization of that fact, that time is a distortion, a diversion, and then where are you? Then what is observation without time? I wonder if you're getting all this.
If you're fully attentive, is there a cellar?
That's the point, sir. Therefore, what does this full attention mean?
From my experience, those moments that I'm not expecting anything, I'm more fully attentive.
No, I don't want moments. I want. I'm not interested in occasional having food, and that is my life. One's life is much too short, and I want to enjoy the mountains and the trees and the loveliness of human. I want to enjoy, and as long as there is not, this isn't clear. All this, there is no joy in life. So. And joy is always now, not tomorrow or yesterday. So time is a factor which is most destructive. And so, is there observation without time? See what is implied in all this. Observation without time, observation without the censor, observation without resistance, without control, without a motive, without an achievement. I don't know if you. What does that observation mean? Is it possible? Or we are merely pursuing a fancy, a dream, a lovely thing to be like that, but it's just vain, it has no meaning. You see, so they say train yourself, practice, watch how you move your toe, your finger, your mind, your thought, you follow, watch, take time, take years. At the end of it, what have you got at the end of it? Not to every reaction to see Marilyn Monroe. You follow, sir? That's what they're after. Which is so idiotic. I don't want to go into all that. No, I don't know if you may laugh at it, but you see, sir, the monks throughout the world have trained themselves to this. They never see the beauty of the earth, the beauty of the tree, the beauty of a woman or a man. It's just the book and their idea of Jesus and their salvation and truth. It just, you follow, a battle going on everlastingly inwardly. Never a moment of beauty, a tremendous enjoyment of life. So, if I'm serious, I must find this. You follow? It isn't just a dream. Either it is so or it's not so. Which means mind must everlastingly dwell in conflict. That's its habitation. If that is a reality, then it's all right, we accept it. That means violence is absolutely part of life, part of man. Only tame it, control it, shape it, be violent in certain direction, be peaceful. I say that's impossible to live that way. So, in inquiring, not theoretically, but actually, experiment means to put it to the test, to test it. As you go along. Is such awareness in which there is the total absence of the censor with all its implications. How does it happen? Not tomorrow, it must happen now. If it happens tomorrow, it's no meaning. Because when it happens tomorrow, I've already built dozens of resistances. I don't know. I've already distorted. I've taken a detour to come to tomorrow. The detour leads me off. So at the end of this, is the mind aware of all this? Aware in the sense, aware of the truth of all this. Not as an idea, the truth of naming, not naming. The description is not the described. The desire to seek and the implications of it. Control, see the truth of it, the truth, not the idea of the truth. Is that what we are doing now? which brings us to another issue, which is what is love then? Is love matter of time, culture, a thing of pleasure? And therefore, dependency. What is it? I don't. Or is awareness love? Is attention the sense of total, to use a word which is so hackneyed, so spoiled, love? Then there is love. Do you control? Oh, I mustn't go into all this. Yes, sir, you think it out. Watch it and you'll see the most extraordinary things happen.
In love, I should think that there must be awareness.
No, sir, not I should think. What is love?
Well, I meant to go on, if I might.
Sorry.
I wanted to suggest that awareness couldn't be love because one could be aware of torture and one wouldn't love it.
So is love a thing of thought?
I should think
No, no, not should think not. I don't know.
I'll rephrase that. No.
Then what is pleasure? What is pleasure and love? These are dangerous questions. You follow, sir? No, no, don't. What relationship is sex to love? If pleasure is not love, be careful. I'm not saying it is or it's not. We're inquiring. Then what place is enjoyment? Huh? I don't know if you've gone into all this.
Seems to me it would depend on how you use your pleasure, how you use your sex.
No, no. Who is using it? For God's sake, don't use.
Well,
What do you mean use?
I might be phrasing it wrong. In other words, if sex is just lust or something like that, then
Well, so, wouldn't you approach the problem not approach it not by negation come upon the positive? Which is, what is joy and pleasure. What is enjoyment? Enjoyment, sir. Enjoyment, doesn't it mean no memory of having enjoyed? No, sir. Come on, sir.
I think it's a feeling you get when you have complete communication.
No, sir. No, don't. If you remember your enjoyment and are enjoying that remembrance, it is pleasure. And therefore it's not enjoyment. So is love, pleasure, and Lord's sake, sir, this is such a tremendously serious thing we're playing with.
Pleasure is destiny. By definition, pleasure is a remembrance of
Obviously.
Then love can't be that, because love is not.
So what relationship, follow it, sir, careful. What relationship is sex, enjoyment, joy, pleasure? Remember, you follow?
It would seem to me that pleasure excludes love because it excludes relationship, but love can include sex and can include...
Oh, I don't know anything about all this, sir. Look at the complexity of, sir. First see how complex this question is. I mean, throughout the ages, man, in seeking God, whatever, he says no sex. You follow? To serve God, you must be celibate. You follow?
I see that. It doesn't seem...
No, don't say it doesn't seem right or wrong. Go into it. Because they said, desire is wrong. Therefore, kill out desire. And they can't kill out desire, therefore, they concern themselves with the desire for Jesus, for Savior. You follow what I mean? Or social reform, or whatever it is, missionary work and going, helping the heathens and all that. Until the whole mind understands this whole business of the observer and all that, and also the sense of joy. Which has nothing to do with entertainment, being entertained, or getting joy of reading a poem. And pleasure, sex, tenderness, kindliness, gentleness. You follow the whole of that.
Sir, I don't exactly understand how enjoyment has nothing to do with reading a poem, getting joy from reading a poem, or anything.
Look, sir, to derive enjoyment through something is to depend on something.
But you can enjoy something.
I enjoy the sunset because I'm joyous. which is different. Sorry, I'm.
Yeah.
If I have a problem eating my heart out, how can I look at those mountains? I'm sorry, you all ought to be sitting here and I there. You see, what we are talking is so contradictory to everything. I don't know. I mean, the Catholic priesthood is revolting against the church. After going through tortures to say, now I won't anymore. There's no meaning. So this is it. I don't know how much you have communicated with each other. Is it time? Be what?
5:30.
An hour and a half. That's it.
If I understand you correctly, you're not asking what should be the relationship between sex and love, but what is it, in fact? And I don't see how that can possibly have a simple answer. It is what it is. I can't see how we can say it is this or it is that.
No, sir. We can't put these into categories. But what we can do is, and as human beings, have to relate all this, the truth of all this, or the beauty of all this. And so one has to inquire endlessly. Follow what I mean?
One doesn't have to start out with a particular strategy.
No. And the moment we observe what joy, when there is joy, you say, what strange phenomena this is. Huh? Suddenly to feel extraordinarily something and see the pleasure of it. You follow how pleasure comes out of it? Which is thought cultivating that incident as pleasure and pursuing that. No, this requires enormous attention, you follow? Watching like a hawk.
Does this watching root out the deep censor, or does it just free the mind from the effects of the censor?
No, in this watching there is no censor at all. This watching implies the absence of this observer. I think we better stop, don't you?